Hi everybody, so I'm on this trail and it's a memory of being on this trail many years ago. And the first time I had gotten on this trail, I had a mountain bike. And the guy that I was dating, he was more of a rider than I was. So I was new at it. And we just gotten these new fancy bikes and we got on this trail. And, you know, I was totally down for a ride, a couple miles, totally fine. But I didn't know what the total distance was. I hadn't done my research. This was way before internet. This was like, you know, where you had to have a paper map to understand what things were, or go to the library and look it up. So anyway, he was my boyfriend at the time, and he was like, let's go on this trail. And he's leading and I'm following. And he was going really fast, and I'm trying to keep up with him. I'm like, hey, Greg, slow down. It's like, I need to take a rest. And he's like annoyed that I want to take a rest. And he said, come on, we want to get to the end. And I'm like, what's the fascination with getting to the end? Like, how many miles is it anyway? And he's like, I don't know. It has to be right up ahead. And the bottom line is, it was already, dusk at this point, and neither one of us had food, water, helmets, flashlights, none of that, because he didn't plan any of this out, okay? And I'm just riding behind, and I'm just, following along. And at certain parts of this trail, there are like these gates where it's like a metal gate, and you have to be really careful when you're on a bike walking and pedaling through those gates. And sometimes the gates were closed. So, and it's dark now. And I'm like, come on, let's turn around. This is too much. I'm really tired. My legs are tired. And he's like, no, we're going to get to the end. And I'm thinking, even if we get to the end, we got to drive all the way back on our bikes. Like, that's still a lot. And it's dark. And I can't see what's in front of me. And he's like, you're no fun. And he just wasn't being very kind. The bottom line is, we made it all the way to the end in Pennsylvania. Started, I think, in Moncton or somewhere in Hunt Valley or something. Went all the way to Pennsylvania, the whole trail, which is like 20 miles. And I was totally exhausted. And still, we had to drive back, and it was dark. And my muscles were like, I can't do it anymore. And I'm like, I just don't have it in me. I'm like, we need to rest. And he's like, no. He's like, you got to keep pushing. Well, by the time we finally got back to the car, I was so annoyed at him as a boyfriend. He was not thinking about my level of athletic activity at the time. He wasn't considering the journey, how long it was going to take. He didn't have provisions for us. He didn't have, a candy, a granola bar or a bottle of water or just none of that, okay? And meanwhile, I'm thinking, we're going to be on the trail for just a couple miles, turn back around and be done, And that was not what happened. Now, here I am walking this trail today. Haven't been on this trail in a long, long time, okay? Had the memory of what that was like, being on a bike, how hard it was traveling. And those last mile and a half on a bike, my legs were like jello. I didn't have anything left in me. And I actually fell over like a mile and a half before the exit. My body just fell off the bike. And then he's annoyed at me because I fell off the bike and now I've injured myself. And I'm like, you're not listening to me. And bottom line, when we got back to the car, I was so done with bike riding. I was so done with his directions and non-communication skills and not having a plan, not having provisions. Like, all I wanted was to take a bath, or clean up, and get some food. And here's the point. When you are under the headship of a man that has no relationship with God our Father, and you're under the headship of a man that his only desire is to take from you whatever he can get, and for you to just be a showpiece on his arm, he's not under God. He's not in alignment with Jesus at the cross. He's not in alignment with the Holy Spirit. He's in alignment with his own ego and what he can get out of his five senses. Now, I want to tell you, I stayed with that man for 7 years. I loved him. I loved his family. I loved his, the dogs that we trained. I loved the businesses that we built. And the bottom line is this. In my faith, I kept believing that God was going to turn the heart of this man and that he was going to turn him into a better man. And I kept trying to demonstrate to the best of my ability how to be a godly woman. But the problem is I still failed. Even in all my attempts to do so, I failed. And the failure is that I chose the wrong man to begin with. Because you know what? Let me tell you about this man. This man was nouveau rich. And you know what? I learned so much with him in that 7-year relationship about art and culture and dining out and flying in an airplane to Martha's Vineyard for the day and going on shopping sprees. And he'd drop down a pile of cash. Hey, babe, go have fun shopping. I just made a really big sale today, It was the financial status. It was the comfortable living and lifestyle that he afforded me and that I was impressionable on at such a young age, being a college person, a college girl that met him in college at age 19. So what I'm getting at is I was wooed by the things and the status and the traveling and the adventure and the Harley riding motorcycles and, going on all these trips in the Bahamas and Bermuda. And you get what I'm saying. I was mesmerized by the experiences that I was able to have because this man had money and influence and status. And because I was a pretty girl, I was able, and I was a well-educated conversationalist that could talk in all these different circles and dress appropriately. I was welcome. But here's the deal. In the end, you know what he did? He chose a woman with 4 kids from different fathers who was unmarried, and he chose her over me. And man, did that hurt my ego. And I never could understand why. And in the end, all the years of work in the business that I had dedicated my time and energy and support into running the business, blood, sweat, and tears, the times that I helped him study so that he would do well in school, the times that I fixed and prepared all of those meals and all the things that I did to support him so that he could have his clothes cleaned and this and that. I was a wife to him in every sense of the word without being married. And that was the error of me. And in the end, he chose someone different. And I was very sad. But let me tell you, my friends, as I walk on this trail right now, and yes, sunset is starting, and I still have a good 15 minutes until I get to the clear of where my car is parked. And the bottom line is this. I planned my trip. I told my family where I was going, and I told them with a text message, I'm going to this trail. I'm entering on this trail at this time. And my dad said, don't overdo it. Make sure you're wearing your comfortable shoes. Make sure you have your phone. Make sure you have a weapon on you. Make sure you have your other phone as backup. And the point is, when you are guided in a godly way about how to handle yourself as an adult, even when you're alone, and there are many times when I'm alone, and sometimes I prefer to be alone, but I'm saying as a single woman being alone, I'm walking on a trail by myself, and it's starting to get dark. And my point is, I'm prepared for what may come. Okay? And I also have planned it that I am going to get to my vehicle before it is pitch black. And that is because I learned my lesson in my youth that I wasn't going to repeat the same mistake. I wasn't going to be making the same mistake. So, my brothers and sisters, I encourage you to consider what experiences have shaped you, and consider what experiences you have not grown from, you have not improved from, because you're still stuck in the same dynamic of doing the same stupid shit that you did before. So I encourage you to get in the Word, let God transform you with the Word, and with the watering of the well of the living water of the living Word, you will learn to act like a mature adult and to not make the same mistakes. So, good night, my brothers and sisters. Have a good night.